Namaskar. Hello and welcome to 𝗘𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗏𝗍𝗏's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer, and today I'm back with Elmer Yuen. You all know Elmer, and he's been a regular every fortnight, every other Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And today we have some cracking developments to report on. Elmer, welcome to 𝗘𝗃𝗏𝗍𝗏's channel, and Namaskar.
How are you? How are you? Very nice meeting you. All friends from India.
Yes, and absolutely on the top of the world. Before we jump into today's event, I want to talk to you viewers about something which is happening next month. Elmer is hosting the former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, for two fundraising events, one on the 16th of October at the city of Livermore, and on the 17th of October in the city of San Jose. Elmer, perhaps you can touch upon this and why we need support of each and every one of our viewers who is in this area to consider joining. This is not a very expensive event, but we want to show our support to a Republican candidate, a very worthy individual. Should he consider running for president? We don't know what Mike's plans are. Perhaps you can show a little bit of light on that one, and then we can start today's programming.
Yes, I have to take a little bit longer. I've
Sure.
I've come to the United States for 1.5 years from Hong Kong, and because of my anti-communist stand, I'm not able to return to Hong Kong or China. So my job here is to lobby the U.S. Congress and the U.S. government to really help Hong Kong to regain its freedom. And 6 months ago, I formed a foundation called Hong Kong Freedom Beacon. Right now, of course, Hong Kong is occupied and fully occupied by the communists, and they are trying to convert to Hong Kong, the audience, your Indian audience, enjoying. So I formed this foundation, and I have the honor of the former Secretary of State Pompeo, and also Miles Yu, his China strategist, being joined us as senior consultant. And we are also arranging to go to many Asian communities to let them talk about to wake up people on China, because everybody thought China is a normal country. We should do business and treat them nicely and make money together. So I'm asking the Secretary Pompeo and his China strategist, Miles Yu, to basically do speeches, speaking tours in different parts of the United States or even Canada to wake people up about the threat of communism. And the Chinese people are not the same as Chinese Communist Party members. We must separate the two. Chinese people are victims. So we have two events in the Bay Area. That's why I'm here most of the time until the middle of October. On the 16th of October, we have a dinner event for 200 people in Livermore. And Livermore is in the Bay Area, California. And we hope you can join. And on the 17th afternoon, there's 1,000 people speaking opportunity event, and that would be in the Calvary Church in San Jose. And that one we need your support. There is some cost to it, but I think if you belong to a group, we can discuss. Siri and I will discuss how to treat groups, and we need a big support, not only for my foundation, because Mike Pompeo is the only absolutely firm politician, or you can see government official, who was brave enough to stand up against China, and no wavering, no compromise whatsoever. That's why I'm trying my best to promote them and also to raise money for them. They have been sanctioned by the Communist China. As a result, not many big corporations or wealthy people are willing to support them because they are afraid of secondary sanction. Whoever support them may piss off the the communist government, who made revenge, as you know. I mean, if you look at this hostage deal, where the Huawei CFO being released, they would do anything. So this is why I hope you can join us on the 16th and 17th of October. And the details, I think 𝗖𝗵𝗶 maybe will post a
Yeah, it's down there.
QR code. Oh, it
Yes.
is already there. Thank you
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much. And
yeah.
I appreciate, and I hope as you know, the Mike Pompeo was the one who organized the Quad, India, US, Japan, and Australia, the Quad. And he is the one who really helped to set up this Indian and Pacific Ocean, this belt, to really to stop the communists from expanding, or really, and they want to expand, of course. Now they're already successfully in Burma, Afghanistan, and of course they want to they already taken over Hong Kong, and the next will be Taiwan and the South China Sea. So he's very important, not only for Hong Kong, but for the global, because the Chinese Communist Party is a threat. Look at the viruses. I mean, the event of virus, it's a threat to the world security, and they are not a normal nation. We really need to understand it's a criminal organization. So I don't want to bore you with the details, but I hope 𝗖𝗵𝗶 will invite me again, and we can talk again before the
Oh,
October event.
absolutely, absolutely. And we are trying to make this a ongoing event every alternate Tuesdays, Elmer, when your
Thank
time
you.
permits, of course, because there's so much that India and our viewers can understand and learn from you. You are a wealth of information, sir.
Thank
And,
you.
and I've had nothing but good things about this program, where people in the know have told me that Elmer's viewpoints are right on the money. Viewers, I'm telling you this in open channel for the first time. Elmer's data has been absolutely spot on about the China. So we're going to have a cracker of a session. Please stay tuned, and let's start off by something that you had already triggered before, that Xi Jinping is cracking down on many of the big companies. You had the Ant Financial, Alibaba, and now Evergrande is also here, in crisis. Plus, he's also trying to shut down the cryptocurrency companies, so exchanges and so on and so forth. First, let's start with Evergrande and cryptocurrencies. Where do you think things are headed? Because they have three or more other things that's coming up, very important. You may want to listen to this entire session, viewers. Take it away, Elmer.
Yeah, I first have to mention anything to do with capitalism, anything to do with capitalism, he wants to do away with. So he's just have informed Macau that out of the 6 license, gambling license, he will remove 3. And that is going to be very difficult for people to go to Macau to gamble. And in Hong Kong, which is the biggest business, is property business, he wants them to donate land to build cheaper buildings for the poor. I mean, it sounds very good, but it's destruction of total damage of the capitalist and the free enterprises business. And going back to your question about Evergrande, Evergrande is probably the world's biggest real estate company, right? And just in debt, 2 trillion RMB. That's what we know. I believe it's more like 3 trillion. And 3 trillion is something like more like
500 billion. 500
yeah,
billion.
500. 3 trillion is 500. Yeah, 500 billion US dollars. Sorry.
I'm dividing by 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6.5, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
are
Close enough.
details.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say roughly about 1/4 of it is in US dollars. Evergrande is a Hong Kong listed company, yet its main business, 100% of its business, is in China, developing property. Right? They're very, very fast. And how the government allowed them to borrow so much, right? They borrowed such way over, and almost 300 financial institutes, including foreign and Chinese, loan money to them. I mean, 3 trillion RMB, 500 billion is a huge amount. And some of them are already due. All right, a few days ago, they have a grace period for 30 days to pay the interest and some of the principal. It's coming along. And Xi Jinping has drawn 3 red lines. For Evergrande to borrow more money, they have to make sure that the capital requirement and then how much property is being sold and so on and so forth. So he has drawn, and Evergrande have basically passed all these, step over all these 3 red lines. So it's very serious. It's already in receivership. Let's call it this way. Not legally in receivership, but basically the government is already the party. Okay, the party is already sitting with the management all the time to make sure they first build the unfinished apartments. China, of course, as you know, high-rise apartments. That's all the city people dwell in these high-rise apartments. So they must finish them because there could be as many as a few million buyers who have paid deposit to buy these apartments that are not finished, and that can create social unrest. So Xi Jinping's first objective is to make sure he keep on finish as many apartments as possible so that the buyers are being pacified. That is his first objective. Paying back loan is another thing. Is the Hong Kong loans, the foreign currency, US dollar loan must be paid back. Because what happened, Hong Kong, we have law. You don't pay, you up to you don't pay, then people can go to court and ask to bankrupt you. All right, to take your property as to pay off the debt. So that could be if you go to the court for summary judgment, it can take as long as 1 or 2 weeks, because it's obvious that there's a loan agreement, you pass the loan agreement, and they give you demand letter, you cannot pay, then it's over. Then they can basically put the company into then to freeze. They can freeze all your bank account, at least in Hong Kong, and then the company is a public company. It's over. So these 2 are the immediate front they have to face. The rest, the loans in China, they can store the bank, and Xi Jinping asked the bank to wait. So it's a very serious situation because it can trigger. In China, they have their way. They can print more RMB and cover themselves, so that the crisis can be contained, but not overseas. So if they default on the US dollar loan in Hong Kong, it will trigger all the loans to China will be in question, because they say, oh, this is the way Chinese companies are. So all these outstanding loans to China will be in trouble, and no more futures. Already, I think only company, the investment banker like BlackRock are still trying to, because they are very close to, they've been making money from China for 20 years. So last month they still put in another, I think, more than $10 billion invest into China. But otherwise, everybody is pulling out, whether it's debt or it's property, or no, whether it's debt or it's stock. All US money is coming out. So Xi Jinping you have to understand, Xi Jinping is doing something very interesting. All right, and we need to watch it. And he is destroying anything to do with capitalism. All right, the stock market in China, the stock property market in China. All right, and basically he is trying to convert the entire China and Hong Kong and Macau economy almost back to communism. All right, communism means everything state-owned. Not only you should not be a capitalist, but anybody who is a capitalist, whoever has capital, let's say you buy a property for 1 million and sell one for 1.2 million, you're a capitalist. And it's not only a crime, you are the enemy of the people. just by owning capital. I'm talking about no money, owning capital, all right? Lots of money in the bank. Property, you use property for making money. Buying stock, selling stock. These are behavior of a capitalist, all right, big or small. So you are an enemy of the people. I'm from Shanghai. I was born in 49 when communists took over mainland China. Within 10 years, I left China in 1957. All capitalists totally disappear. You may have a few dollars in the bank, but that's it. All your property become public property. They were sending 3-4 families to your house and stay with you. We have 5 families coming to our home, and then we have to move out because I mean we're not used to living with 5 families, cooking and doing everything. So you watch the movie 𝗘𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗿𝗍𝗂𝗏. That's what happened, right?
Okay,
People start living,
understood.
and then
Yeah.
have a committee, all right, and then they know everything you do. That's exactly what happened. So when I left Shanghai in 57, Shanghai used to be the financial trading capital of Asia. All right. Within 7 years, it's over. All right. And not a single. Well, I was lucky because my family was able. My father was forced out because they nationalized his business. We were agent for Leica camera in China, right, in Shanghai, and then they nationalized. And before they nationalized, my father already ran to Hong Kong, and we joined him 5 years later. So this is the way it is. Now it's happening again in Hong Kong. I mean, I'm personally involved, and my mother was a Christian, and then a leadership. Actually, she was a Jehovah's Witness. 20 years, 20 years of arrest. All religious leaders, all religious, Catholic, Buddhist, Muslim, you name it. 20 years. Everybody was arrested in 1956 because they suddenly announced religion is an opium, no more. All right, so arrest everybody. This is communism. They can move very, very fast. Look at Hong Kong, how fast they move. Macau, basically in a day, one announcement finished. And look at each trade that Xi Jinping has done. He's going to kill all capital-related business. Tuition is a huge business. The after-school tuition finished in one day. One announcement, totally finished. All right, DD they want to control, and all the data, and the communists, they will send a party secretary to station in your company to work with your board, and all your board decision has go through him. So basically, the board is just the show. All right. So all the board decision have to go through the party member, and he can tell you to donate money. So your whole dividend policy means nothing. He asked Jack Ma to donate $100 billion, I mean, 100 billion RMB, and he did. So the dividend means nothing. So basically, it's no longer a company. What Alibaba is no longer a company. It's just a communist control company. So stock certificate means nothing. Property deed means nothing. All right, because they own the property, they own the company. It's not lost, and the stock and your stock index, stock market index means nothing. So basically, he is converting this whole 30-year gain that China have created some kind of capitalist and the market economy. He's doing away with it all. And the most serious matter now, which I think if you read up, I'm talking about last few days, is more than half, 70% of China have power outage. And we're not talking about little power outage. 2 days working, 5 days resting. I'm talking about Guangdong province. Guangdong province is the most productive and export-oriented province in the whole China. And I'm not going to one province. I'm talking about more than half of all the provinces. And at some areas, north of Guangdong, 0-day working, 7 days at home. Suddenly, now let me tell you what happened. This is communism. People don't really know. People still think in capitalist term. You have to think about things in communist terms. Okay, Xi Jinping agreed to Biden that he is going to improve the environment. So coal is a big problem, right? Almost 85% of Chinese power is produced by coal, burning coal. So you have to have clean coal, all right? And the clean coal costs a lot of money. So basically, and you have to buy better coal from Australia, which he cut off, because the Australian coal have less sulfide. The Chinese coal, very high sulfide and very low calories. All right, so the power. So what happened is suddenly he has decided to improve the environment and control the carbon dioxide output just to match with Biden, to please Biden, so they can talk on the same level. That is his cards. His cards is he can control the environment also, right? So what happened is he has enemy inside China, and they say very good. You want to clean up the coal and so on and so forth. The power generation of China, which is the biggest in the world, or the Shenhua is the company that control both the biggest coal mine and also the power generation. But they control and the problem when the coal needs more money to be cleaned and then to be imported, the coal prices have doubled in the last 2 years. So what happened is the power company are losing money, losing almost like 25% of the selling price. So if the selling price of the coal is, let's say, its selling price is 7 cents US, let's say 7 cents US, but it costs 10 cents to produce. I'm talking about US dollars, all right?
Right,
10
right.
cents to produce. So the more they produce, they lose money. So suddenly they've decided, which they means his rivals, Xi Jinping's rivals. Very good. You want clean environment and so on and so forth. You fight with Australia on the coal, all right? There's a crack, all right? And they enlarge the crack. You understand? They enlarge the crack. Very good. So we better cut back the coal production and cut back the power production altogether. As a result, the power suddenly, I'm talking about last year, dropped. The power output dropped almost like more than half. They say, "Oh, we're not going to lose money anymore. We just do it your way, all right? We follow your guideline. We do it your way, and since we don't want to lose money, we just shut it down. We only give the bare minimum, bare minimum. So it's very dangerous because winter is coming up, and if you have no power, these new buildings, multi-story building, cannot live without power. It's not like like a countryside living. You can still live ecologically, but these buildings without power, elevator don't work, no water is pumped to the top, nothing, nothing. And people who try to have heating is no problem. They try to use some kind of wood or coal for heating. Then you even need a ventilation fan to exhaust the carbon monoxide. It's so serious. The crisis is so serious. I'm giving you the latest. May bring down Xi Jinping, may not bring down communism, because they are also using it. They are using this to bring him down. I don't know whether I've said it in your program or not. The Biden administration is working with the Chinese deep state, all right, which is not Xi Jinping, all right, the deep state, to remove Xi Jinping because he is bad for business, right? This is what's happening to the Biden administration. And there was a newspaper article yesterday on South China Morning Post. This guy, John Thornton, I think he was the ex-chairman of either Goldman or Morgan, and he said it publicly that John Kerry really is the real person dictating the Chinese policy. And he's been meeting the Chinese deep state secretly. Yet his title is the U.S. Environmental, like in charge of environmental issue. So there is a huge show going on, and I regret to say, the India media has been very weak over the past 50 years or something in studying China, because India never thought of China as an enemy, because you remember Modi was like a buddy with Xi Jinping.
He met 18
many
times. Yeah.
many trips to China, but I don't think India never thought China can become an enemy again. Like there was a war, but then the whole Indian knowledge of what's happening to China is, I would say, not sufficient. You need to send a lot. I mean, you may even have to hire because reporter takes time to train. You might even have to hire other people to understand China, because China is deadly. This CCP is deadly to all of us. Sorry, I talk a lot about other things. Sorry about
No problem at all, Elmer.
subject.
It's always a pleasure to listen to you, Elmer. I just want
Thank
to
you.
wait. We have a limited time because you have another show starting at in about 35 minutes. So I want to make the best use of your time. So
Thank you.
So we have discussed two topics so far: Evergrande and the power crisis in China. I mean, if this power crisis lingers for longer, the whole production capacity of China is going to just collapse. And that could be serious ramifications, because a lot of people are going to be out of jobs. And you may raise a very valid point. Things are getting cool, so you need heating, and so that's going to be another problem. So, but there is other things that are happening. The cryptocurrency market, something Xi Jinping has tried to do is to shut down many of this. I think the Bitcoin price, as well as the other cryptocurrencies, are they going to take a big hit now? Is it going to come back? What are your thoughts on the crypto market?
China is the biggest producer of Bitcoin until 2-3 months ago. All right, there are a lot of rivers and so on generating hydropower, and they use that to mining, Bitcoin mining, and they've been the biggest producer. And remember in Silicon Valley you have this NVIDIA, right?
NVIDIA, right.
They make their processor.
Graphic chips, right.
Right. And even though the guy who produced the most, but then Xi Jinping, what happened is Chinese people want their money out. They want RMB convert to US dollars. So what they all get involved with Bitcoin mining, and that they buy Bitcoin with RMB, and then tell their relative or friends outside China to cash in foreign currency. So in a way, Xi Jinping suddenly found out they are using the country's resource to smuggle, to convert illegally RMB into foreign currency, leaving China. And they're using Chinese energy, using all these Chinese manpower and so on. So he has to cut it off, because currency in China, as you know, is totally under control. Today, they say each person is allowed to convert up to 50,000 US dollars from RMB, but not true. You go there, you line up. So there is a whole study. This Bitcoin, stopping the Bitcoin, has everything to do with Chinese policy on foreign currency. I can spend a whole hour next time to talk to you about Chinese foreign currency. It's very, very serious. This is what I study. Not I study, but I research. So anyway, the reason they cut the Bitcoin is to stop people converting Chinese resource into foreign currency outside China, and stop money from leaving China. Today, people like Jack Ma, all these people, all their money and their freedom and their passport is frozen in China. And very soon it will happen to other people in Macau and Hong Kong.
That's very scary situation, but looks like there is concerns, or there is assault on Xi's policies from multiple fronts. What is this I hear about 2 weeks ago, that an ex-chief of military police tried to assassinate Xi Jinping? What happened of that? Was it just at a planning stage that they came to know of it? Can you please explain a little bit on what happened there?
There are so many assassinations on Xi. Let me explain to you. China, let's say, even their population figure is a lie. Let's say they have 1.2 billion people. I estimate about 1.1. So out of that, 90% are poor people, and they more or less support Xi Jinping because they're poor. They want Xi Jinping to go against the powerful and the rich. As you know, in all countries, the poor always have this mentality that they are, we are robbed by the rich. So Xi Jinping, all the other maybe like 200 million officials, party members and rich people and whoever make money, those people hate Xi Jinping because they were making big, big, big money, either through corruption or through government collusion business. They were making and then Xi Jinping came along. They lost. So he basically has 200 million enemies. So assassination is not the news at all. They hate his guts. They want to remove him. That's why they are working with the Biden administration to get rid of him. All right. And Biden is inviting him to Geneva or something for a meeting. If he goes, he may never return to China. 600 days, over 600 days, he has not made one foreign visit, meaning he's scared to leave China. If he leaves, there may be a coup that he will never return to China. That is the so-called the cheapest coup. no bleeding, no money. That's the real. And they are probably working with US. If he's outside China, keep him outside. Don't let him come home. This is what's happening. All right. I have a lot of information, but I'm telling you, this is what people are thinking. Assassination is cheap. All right. The real action is to get him out of China and never return. So it says this is quite standard. Please, sorry, go ahead.
So next question, and this is very, very interesting. As the UN General Assembly was playing out, quietly, the CFO of Huawei, who was imprisoned in Canada for the last 2 years, and the Trump administration did that because of Huawei's financial practices in the United States, and also the fact that Huawei's investments, mostly from the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, the CFO, who happens to be the daughter of the CEO, was in prison in Canada. But then suddenly, she goes back to mainland China, and two CEOs who were being held hostage in China are returned to Canada. What does US get out of this deal? Because it was on US's behest that Canada was holding this lady. And what, I'm like trying to understand, what did Biden get from this whole thing? And maybe you can tell us what we are missing.
Sorry, I always have to stretch the story to a little older days.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Huawei, of course, you guys have heard a lot of Huawei, but Huawei is far more than what you have heard. Just in China, every network in the military, in the government, in the party, in your home, in your office is made by Huawei. And this girl is the CFO. She knows where all the body lies because they have to pay her. She gets all the money, all right? And I'm not talking about China. I'm talking about the whole world. Only two years ago, before US start accusing Huawei of spying, the whole world is using Huawei. Your government, your home, your public in India, I'm talking about in US and India, every little country in Africa, in South America, and the most important one is the Vatican. All the network, your route, your modem router, your telephone system, your server, you name it, everything is controlled by Huawei. And she is the one to do the billing and receive all the money. This girl is so important that China is doing everything, even to actually ransom these two Canadians, to meaning losing all face, all right, to exchange hostage, all right, with her. That's why China said at all costs they don't want her knowledge to be given to the American. That's why they've been doing everything to keep the case in Vancouver. All right, they don't want. And then John Kerry came 2 times. And then John Kerry facilitated a phone call, 90-minute phone call between Biden and Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping asked if she can be released. She can be released. Man Wanzhou, that's her name. And they worked out a deal that she can almost like a plead guilty, all right, but not having to go to New York for the trial, and almost agree to all her wrongdoings, except plead guilty, except up to that degree. And all that testimony can later U.S. court can use against Huawei anyway if they want to. But anyway, they made a deal to let the 2 Canadians go, which is good for Trudeau's election coming up. And then they let her go back, and they make a deal. I mean, and then and China said they are not going to export any more coal-fired generator outside China. I mean, to work with Biden. There are secret deals which we'll never know. But anyway, they made a deal. All right, that is the bottom line. But this girl is so important in her head. You know what happened? When her flight, she flew to the North Pole and then getting into Russian territory. The Russians have planes escorting her to the Chinese boundary. And then the Chinese have 4 fighter jets, and escort her plane all the way to Shenzhen. This is how important she is in her head. And Vatican, not only Huawei spies on every person, because all our router and modem is made by Huawei, even Cisco's. All right. Not only that, Huawei can listen to what God said to the Pope.
I just want us to wrap up now. And the last one I wanted to ask you was, there was this strange deal that took place. France was to have sold diesel-powered submarines to Australia. And then all of a sudden, US says, France, you're not selling anything. Australia, you're not buying anything from France. Instead, we are going to sell you nuclear submarines, and you're going to buy this. Remember, in a hangout 2 or 3 weeks ago, you had mentioned how that there is a real danger that China could explode a nuclear device under the sea to create a problem, right? Are these two related? You are the only one who said this thing, so I just want to pick your brains on what really is this AUKUS all about?
The underwater under the South China Sea, Taiwan Strait, and East China Sea, between Japan and China. These areas, the most important area is South China Sea because it's deeper. All right, and the whole world wants to make sure that's an open sea lane, and China, of course, they have their nuclear submarine base in Hainan Island, all right, and they can go straight up. And U.S. must contain the Chinese nuclear submarine to prevent them from going into the Pacific. And once they are in the deeper water in Pacific, they can launch any missile or even nuclear missile to the U.S. mainland. So they have to contain. So long time ago, they already supported the Australian to buy more submarines. First Japan, and then the French are very good in bribing. Japanese are not that good in bribing. So they got the order. The French got the order, all right? And then the Chinese went to the French and paid them to get them to delay the delivery until until something like 2050. So you're talking about, 20, 30 years later, they start delaying. And of course, the Australia wants parts to be manufactured, assembly in Australia, so they can employ some more people. And the Chinese pay the French to delay. So finally, Australia said, we're not going to deal with the French anymore. So they talked to US and UK and decided to go nuclear, or the submarine to go nuclear, which are much better. US, after all, of course, have the best technology. So the Australian aggressiveness against the Chinese CCP, it earn them the trust of US to help them to build their 8 nuclear submarines. And before they finish building, which takes many years, U.S. will lend them all the nuclear submarines. U.S. of course have over 100 nuclear submarines, so they can lend them 8 or 9 at their people training. So that is the deal going on. And the French, of course, it served them right, because they were talking to the Chinese about delaying the delivery to the Australian. So it's a very good deal for the free world.
Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, we can take them now. Let's see if it comes up. I'll know in a minute, and then after that we can call it quit. We are about 40 minutes into the program, so we are comfortable. We can take one or two questions.
It's okay. I have time. No problem. I have time.
Yeah. So here's the first question from Mandar Karnik. What is the reason for bringing down Xi Jinping?
Oh, Xi Jinping is is like Donald Trump. He's bad for the deep state. You know, deep state always make a lot of money, and suddenly you have somebody come in with a different system. All right, different system. Of course, Trump is more business-like, but Xi Jinping is more communist-like. So the communist-like is, oh no, you should not be making profit, because profit is the behavior of capitalists. So in the last 30 years, China have developed many capitalists like Jack Ma and so on and so forth, many. And of course, they collude with the deep state, with people with politicians before Xi Jinping, the Zhang family. And then Zhang family has been more or less in power for the last 25, 30 years. And they collude with them. So Xi Jinping need to consolidate his power, grab power. So he has to rein them in. He has really what you call two birds with one stone. Basically, first to grab power from his rivals, and also to do away with capitalism at the same time. So this is what he is doing.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Sanat Kolhatkar. Sri IRG requests to ask one question. Which of the top 50 CCP families own Evergrande company? How many?
Oh, yeah. Zhang is the like the chief of staff for Jiang Zemin. Zhang family. Zhang family is very big. He control Hong Kong. Basically, Hong Kong is under him. And he also controlled the entertainment business, the movie business. That's why, remember, a few weeks ago, they took a movie star and then tell her to cough up. And that movie star, Zhang's younger brother, controlled the entire Chinese entertainment business. So all the movie stars and everything. And Hong Kong, and also control Hong Kong. So he is Xi Jinping's arch rival. And the Evergrande is also under his protection. I mean, if you look at the mafia, that's the way it is. You know, in the old days in New York City, right? The judge and this industry, that restaurant, that even that little grocery store, it's all controlled by the family. You have to be protected, but you also have to pay. All right, you have to pay. You have to share profit with them. It's a mafia family.
So, viewers, if you want to know a little bit more about who was in power and how Xi Jinping got selected by a group of people, he was actually a part-time actor, and he was, I think, in United States.
Not part-time. You didn't use the right word. Temporary actor.
Temporary actor. Temporary actor.
I saw in your show. It's temporary actor, meaning he is only supposed to act to be the head of a state for a while. Whenever we come to the most sensitive part, normally they hack us. I'm used to it. All right. So what I was going to say was very, very sensitive. I'm not kidding. It happens all the time. So I'm used to it. So what was I going to say? What was your question again?
The question was, you said is a temporary actor, not a part-time. Oh,
maybe
can you hear me?
Start again.
Yeah. Yes. Viewers, while we get Elmer back on, what I was going to say is, if you want to know a little bit more about how Xi Jinping was carefully chosen to be the temporary premier, And again, it is 𝗖𝗵𝗶. You go back and look at all the general secretaries of CCP, you will see Zhang was the CCP for 8 years, and then he stepped down. And at that point, there's been a few other people, and then it was Xi Jinping. But now Xi Jinping has made it his own. And so you can go back to our episodes with Elmer to and get a little bit more perspective. But the main question that I had with you is, now you're saying that Zhang is being under pressure from Xi Jinping, and this is like a fight right now going on. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's take the next question, please. We have a few more questions to go.
Sure.
Veena Raghavan wants to know, why has China not set its eyes on Singapore, a country with Chinese majority?
Yeah, Singapore has always been the white glove for the rich families. All right. Singapore would, the Zhang family would use Singapore to hold their private stake in all these public companies. All right, like the banks. Singapore, the Temasek, now they use another name, but Temasek, is the state company.
Yes,
they are the biggest shareholder of all the big banks in China. And it looks like they are, but they are holding most part of it, they are holding it for some family in China. And last year, when you remember the Ant Group,
yes,
and the Ant IPO being called off, right?
Right.
Last minute being called off. Jiang Zemin's grandson, together with his company, in one day moved to Singapore. And we are talking about, he has control easily $100 billion, moved to Singapore right away. And Singapore, they've been working. But of course, Singapore's defense, as you know, they only work with US. So they are trying to have two-faced money with China and defense with US. But then China has a plan for them. China is ready anytime. They have infiltrated. They have sent enough immigrants into Singapore. If they want, they can take over Singapore just like that in a matter of days. They can start a coup in Singapore. All right. And because of Malacca, they want to control. Well, if there's a war, they will have to control Malacca. It's too important to leave it in Singapore's hand, who is deeply aligned with US on defense.
Good. And then two more questions, and then we can call it done. How can India ensure that they get into business of semiconductor manufacturing? Should India focus on niche technologies like GAN? Your 2 cents on this.
Honestly
Nitin
speaking,
Bharadwaj.
Can I say? Honestly speaking, India economy or business has not been big. You don't have very, very big business, meaning your capital market is not developed. You need to have your semiconductor business industry. Of course, today, anytime just to get into it is $20 billion. And one production line is almost like $10 billion. So you need to have at least money for 2 production lines, or one for now and one for next. But that money you have to invest. There is no choice if you want to be part of the future. I'm very, very familiar with the semiconductor business. All right. And I'm but very few people 40 years ago.
Somebody is at it again. And basically what he has said is that India needs to really invest in semiconductor business. And I'm not sure we're going to get him back, but we're going to just wait for a few more moments. It's normal to try and disrupt Elmer's broadcast. He does a broadcast every day. He's back. Continue, please.
Sorry, we have been hacked. Whenever I come to the most sensitive part, they always cut us. Somehow we need to use. Next time with you, I could use a VPN.
Let's do that. Yes. So basically what you're saying is it's very important for India that it needs to get its own fab. The investment is a little bit high, but the returns will be there. And thank you very much for that. I think we should call it done now. We're about 50 minutes. Thank you so much, Elmer. And we will be back with Elmer in 2 weeks' time, 2 Tuesdays from now. And unless he's very busy, because he's really trying to put together.
I promise you, and I have to do it. That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we were going to have more talks about this upcoming event. It is important that those of us who are in the Bay Area support him. By the way, I've already registered for the San Jose event. And I just want to make sure that I'm going to try and see as many people that I can bring as possible to this. And let's keep our fingers crossed that we give Mike Pompeo all the support he deserves. After all, he's a Californian. He was born here in this state. So it will be a great matter of pride if he should become the president again. So we'll wait and see how it goes. Thank you once again, Elmer, and we'll be back 2 weeks from now. Namaskar.